Welcome, everybody. My name is Andrew Patricia, and I'm going to be your host for this webinar today. Our webinar today is brought to you by the Magnet Export Business Portal. It's a great place for you to learn, to get educated, and find opportunities for you to grow your business internationally. Our webinar today is on global growth, how to build an online store to sell internationally. And we've got a bunch of people online that are going to share their knowledge and experience with you. First of all, we got Peter Greenall, and he's the program officer at the Ontario Chamber. We got Janet Lewis. We've got somebody from eShipper, Imtiaz Kamalis from eShipper, and Stephen. We got new case and how the Magnet Portal can be used to grow your business. We got Devin that's going to share with us some information about that. So let me just tell you a little bit about our presenters. So on the left-hand side, my name is Andrew Patricio, and I've always been a business owner. And over the last 20 years, I've been running workshops and training programs and webinars for small business owners. Our first presenter is Peter Greenall. He's the program officer at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and I'm really excited because he's going to share some programs available through the Ontario Chamber of Commerce that you as a business owner can take advantage of and use to grow your business internationally. Then we got a business owner. We got Janet Lewis. She's the founder and owner of an interesting company called Orange Fish, and she's going to share with us some of her stories, how she got started, some of her challenges, and I'm sure she's going to inspire you because she's got a great story to tell. Once Janet's done a presentation, then we got Imtiaz and Stephen, and they're from a great company called eShipper, and they're going to share with us how do we simplify this, the shipping process so that we can grow our businesses internationally. So really interesting, and I'm looking forward to them sharing the information about how we can make sure that our shipping is more streamlined. Then we got another business owner, which is always interesting. We got Noora, and she's going to speak to us about her experience selling products online and her relationship with her customers and how she's grown her business. And then finally, we've got Devin Franklin. She's going to share with us information about how you can connect on this great new portal, and you can connect with resources available to help you grow your business. So Devin's going to speak a little bit about the Magnet Business Portal, and it's really interesting, and I encourage you to check it out. All right, but firstly, we're going to start off with Peter from the Ontario Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, well, thank you, and welcome everyone, and thank you all for attending. So a little bit of background on the Global Growth Fund. So that is the fund that I am part of managing here at the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. So the Global Growth Fund consists of two programs, and we'll be talking about those today: the Export Market Access and the Export Manager for Hire. So the Export Market Access has been around since about 2009. It is funded by the provincial government, and the Export Manager program is going back a couple years now, not quite as old as the EMA program, but it's also quite successful. To date, the fund has assisted close to 2,000 companies, generated just under $500 million in export sales in the province, and assisted in the creation of close to 1,500 jobs. So getting to the first slide, the purpose of the Export Fund is to assist medium and small enterprises to seek out, access, and expand their reach in global markets, increase the export sales of Ontario goods and services. So the nature of the program is more of investment in Ontario than it is in specific companies. So when we are contacted by a company, sometimes it's hard for them to understand that what we're looking for is the return on investment specifically in the province. So we want to see job growth. We want to see increased export sales. So let's talk now about the minimum eligibility. As you can see on the screen, you have to have a minimum of 300 to 500 full-time employees. Those employees have to be here in Ontario. The next is minimum annual sales of $300,000. For those people listening who have taken advantage of the program in the past, you might notice that some of these have changed. Just recently it was 5 full-time employees and minimum annual sales of 500,000. So that's dropped down now, so the threshold has been lowered. You have to be a registered company for the last 2 years here in Ontario and submitted financial statements. So when you give us your financial statements, they will be presented to our VP of Finance here at the Ontario Chamber, and he will review them. So what he is looking for there is that you are a financially viable company. You have good retained earnings. You're trending in the right direction in your sales. If for some reason your retained earnings are low, we want to see that it is for a good reason, that you've been investing in research and development, or you've been hiring a lot of new staff. So general guidelines, eligible cost share is a 50-50 program. So it's spend $1 to get $1. This is a non-repayable grant, so it is, you don't have to pay us back, which is always enticing to companies. And the maximum grant per application, and again, this has just recently been increased, is now $50,000. So previously it was $30,000. Existing goods and services produced in Ontario. We get a lot of questions from companies calling and ask, I'm a distributor, I'm importing from overseas, and then I'm reselling. There has to be a value add proposition to the product you or service you are selling. So please keep that in mind. You must have $2 million in commercial general liability insurance. So we are looking to have the Ontario Chamber of Commerce added onto your certificate of insurance. That is one of the eligibility requirement that a lot of companies struggle with. I guess they're wondering why that is, and that's because in today's environment where lawsuits are so prevalent, we're just trying to cover our end. You must have a market-ready product. So if you are still in development in the early stages and everything is based on pre-sales, unfortunately, again, you cannot apply. And there is some leeway, but the leeway is dependent on your government reference and also if you're participating in a Ministry of International trade mission. Okay, funding categories. These are kind of vague, so the next couple of slides will cover what exactly this means. There's direct contacts. That's specifically covering a trade show and trade mission activities. Marketing tools, that's kind of self-evident what that is, and then market research. So we'll now cover what is included in this. So eligible costs. The two primary things that the EMA program usually covers are attending trade shows and trade missions. So trade shows, we want to see that you are exhibiting at a trade show. You cannot simply just be walking the floor or attending as a speaker at a conference. You actually have to be renting physical booth space. So this is a project-based program. It's not operational-based. So everything has to be specific to the trade show itself. So we're not going to pay for any materials that can be used, materials or collateral that can be used at a later date at another trade show that we're not sponsoring. So we're going to be covering booth rental. We won't cover the cost of a purpose-built booth and related exhibition costs. So for those who are entering into the trade show market for the first time, you'll be surprised by the amount of things that are associated with the rental of a booth space. Everything from vacuuming to carpeting to drayage, it adds up very quickly. Also, we'll cover on-site local translation services, marketing activities, so that includes show guide, pre-show mail-out, sell sheets, brochures, maximum EMA per diem allowance. This is one thing that people are always excited to hear about. We will give you $125 per person per day, so that's a maximum of 2 people, and is based on a calculation. So we look at the days of your trade show. If your trade show is running for 5 days and you arrive a day before to set up and leave a day after for takedown, that's 7 days. We will give $125 per person per day for those 7 days. And then next is in-market sales presence. Okay, so this gets into the market research. Market research EMA contribution $5,000 for consulting services and a lifetime maximum of $20,000. This has always been in our program guidelines, but it's something that is very underutilized at the moment. So again, if you are not new to the program, if you've used it before, I would strongly suggest consulting with your senior business advisor. We'll get into that later, and talking about how you can maximize your ask. And this is, again, one way to do so. Matchmaking, again, we see a lot of people asking for matchmaking but not really understanding what it is. This has to be pre-arranged, so we have to see communication between you and the business contacts who will be setting this up, and it has to be on-site meetings at the trade show or predetermined area. So a lot of people think that it's simply just going to target market and hoping that they will be set up with companies. Again, we need to see names and dates. Developing display panels for booth and international trade shows. Yeah, so we, again, as I previously mentioned, we won't pay for the construction of a physical booth, but we will pay for updating your panels and graphics. So that includes both the design and printing of them. Return economy international airfare for no more than 2 people. You can fly first class if you want. We will just cover the base amount for economy, so we'll look at what that price is, and we will include that. In-market communication and support. So this is a maximum of $1,000 for international mailings related to the trade show. Eligible costs, again, short-term, less than 1 year in-market office rental. If you feel as though your sales would be maximized by continuing to have a presence in the market after the trade show, we will help you set up a sales office. Promo videos for in-market trade events. This is extremely popular, so we will help not only create the video, so that includes the storyboarding, everything that goes along with it, and also the production of it. E-commerce based tools. So this is very new, and we are still kind of figuring out how it's going to work. But essentially, if you are to receive this, which is a one-time $10,000 ask, it has to relate to a transactional-based system. So it simply can't be updating your website, refreshing the launch page, or translating your website because you're trying to enter into a foreign market and you need to change the text on your website. It has to be somewhere where someone can enter in a PayPal, credit card, whatever it might be, and actually buy an item. So how do you get paid? So when you apply to the program, and let's talk a little bit about the application process. So you fill out the application. On average, we think it takes about 4 hours to fill out the application. We're going to review it. If we need anything else from you fail to provide us with the necessary documents, we will contact you, and it is then your responsibility to get back in touch with us and provide us with those documents. Once you are approved, and if you reach that point where we're asking for documents and you're sending them back to us, this is success rate, I would say, about 80 to 90. So if you put in the legwork, this program is very beneficial. So once we've approved you, we're going to send you an approval letter. You're going to sign it, send it back. We're really old-fashioned here. We do a lot of our work by snail mail. Once we get that back, we're going to cut you a check for 40% of whatever award amount that we've given you. Next, we are going to ask you to do 2 separate reports. Your first report is your expense report. You are going to match everything that you have told us about in your initial application with both a receipt and then a proof of payment. So this is very specific. A lot of people get stuck on this. So your receipt has to indicate the item that you listed in your initial budget. Then proof of payment, we're sticklers on this. It has to be a bank statement, credit card statement, a wire transfer, or a return check. About a year's time after the initial approval, you're going to be giving us what we call the final report, or the results report, in which you're going to be telling us about any sales related to that trade show. So again, sometimes there's confusion. People will say, well, last year I made 5 million sales to the United States. Well, we want to know, were those sales in the United States attributable to your presence at the trade show? And we're going to ask for confirmation by, you have to provide us a lead list of all the companies you met at the trade show, and then we're going to match the purchase orders or signed contracts to that lead list. And if they don't match up, then we're not going to accept those sales. So the due diligence is on your end to keep track of everything. Once you're approved, keep your receipts. Make sure that you're matching those bank statements. Make sure that you're tracking these sales. And that's because although you might get your money ultimately from us, if you apply again and you haven't done a good job doing that the first time around, it's within our rights to deny you a second application. So really, this is something that's hard to hear for companies, but it happens quite often. Okay. Companies can access 2 applications in a 12-month period. Again, that has always been the case, but we've changed some things here. So there might be some differences from the last time you applied. A final report must be completed. So previously it was just your expense report, so your final report must be completed. As previously mentioned, your final report can take up to a year for you to complete, so it might be hard for you to get those 2 applications in. Applicants can access up to $75,000. So that is the export. Now for the export manager program, a lot of these are along the same lines. Okay, so the export manager program is intended to help small businesses better understand their export capacity and thereby improve their ability to access foreign markets. So this is for companies that aren't just beginning to engage in export trade, but already have a solid understanding of it, but now they're at the stage where the export knowledge will really take them to the next level. So again, very strict criteria on this. Unfortunately, there really isn't leeway. I get a lot of phone calls asking, well, I actually have 2 employees and I only have 510 employees. We are quite strict with that. So again, 300 to 500 employees, have to be in Ontario, a registered company for the last 2 years. So a lot of this is familiar from the EMA program, and a preference given in one of the priority sectors, so advanced manufacturing, aerospace, clean tech, life sciences, etc. All right, so continuing eligibility requirements must be nominated for a program by the Ministry of International Trade. Again, this is a new change to the program. For those not familiar with MIT, they have senior business advisors who work closely with us in both programs. So for your company to even begin the process of applying to this program, you must contact the Ministry of International Trade and your regional representative. In the question and answer period, I'm more than happy to address this, but they have to put forth your application to us. So again, that's new. Hiring an export manager, the maximum grant amount is $80,000, so that's up to $40,000 per year for 2 consecutive years. Maximum funding is provided by the program, so it's a 50-50 eligible cost share. Companies must have 2 million sales up to 20 million. Again, we're not flexible with that, and currently engaged in exports ranging from 10 to 50% of their total annual sales. For companies exporting to the United States, it's a little different. If more than 50% of your company exports are to the United States, then that's a different threshold. We want to see a greater diversification of your export. The export hiring manager must have a minimum of 5 years professional exporting experience. All right? They must be hired. They must be Ontario-based. We get a lot of questions saying, I want to export to India. Can I hire someone in India as my export manager? The answer is no. They have to develop an international business plan. So you need to provide us proof that not only your company, but also this individual knows what they're doing. They cannot be a current employee. No matter how great you think a current employee would be in this position, we want to see that's a new hire. Again, we want to be seen to be creating jobs in Ontario. They cannot be employed by a subsidiary company, and obviously, hopefully this is obvious to everyone, they can't be a family member. So thank you very much for listening to the demonstration today. If you want to reach out, the number is there on your screen. As previously mentioned, my name is Peter Greenall.
Thank you very much. Really interesting, and I encourage you to check out the program. Remember, we'll have a recording of this so you can watch it again, and you can go to the Magnet business portal and you can get more information about using or taking advantage of a program like this. All right, Janet, share with us a little bit about your story about selling your products and services online and inspire us so we can learn how to do this ourselves. Take it away, Janet.
I'll try my best, Andrew. Hi, everyone. So I'll start telling you a little bit about Orange Fish. I launched Orange Fish in 2006 with the idea of featuring Canadian artists and designers, and I wanted to help move them from the trade show environment or in-person sales to the online world, and believed that if artists and designers could spend more time creating and less time doing all the other aspects of running their business, they would actually be more profitable and, in the long run, happier. Since 2006, Orange Fish has featured over 10,000 products, and approximately 55% of the products we featured are either made or designed in Canada. And we love to feature cool products that you typically can't find anywhere else. Our target market are people that like to work hard, as in work out hard, play hard, and have fun. And just so you know, we've changed our target market over the years based on lessons learned and getting more clear about who we want our customers to be. I think probably the biggest mistake I made in the beginning was trying to be everything to everybody. So one thing I would encourage people to do is to narrow your niche and really refine what it is that you want to do. And so if you're thinking about getting started, if you can imagine, in 2006, it was a much different process than it is now. In 2006, our website was completely custom built. E-commerce was relatively new, and you had to hire companies or people that had the technical knowledges and resources to build your site, which could be very costly depending on the features and functionality that you wanted on your site. And even the processes, for example, to get a special merchant account was quite difficult and took a long time. For those of you that don't know, a merchant account is what you would use to accept credit card transactions online. And then once you got up and running, you had to gain people's trust. And in 2006, people were still pretty leery about making purchases online, and in particular sharing their credit card information over the internet. But if we fast forward to 2018, these challenges have been removed. It's much easier and affordable to access the knowledge and find the resources. You no longer need to get everything custom built because there's companies like Shopify that provide a more templated, out-of-the-box solution, and you can actually get up and running really quickly. There's no need for you to have a separate merchant account because you can run all of your payments through Shopify or through PayPal. And the other thing is consumers are choosing to shop online because they've realized it's easy, convenient, and it saves them time. Shoppers can now get whatever they want 24/7, and they're super excited to be shopping online. So let's move into marketing because I know people are always interested in this topic. So one of the things that we've done for marketing, and it's also one of the biggest challenges in 2018, is standing out from everyone else. So it's super competitive business, and you want to make sure that what you're offering is filling a need. And you really need to know who your customers are, and more importantly, who you want your customers to be. But once you've identified that, you can find your customers online. So at Orange Fish, we've been very fortunate because we've built great relationships with some good media partners. We've been regularly featured in the LCBO Food and Drink magazine, Incentive Works, and Meetings and Incentives Travel Guide. We've also been featured on Rogers Daytime TV. And the important thing to note about these features is that they're free and non-paid, which when you're a small business or just starting out, you know, your budget might be limited in that way. So there are ways for you to be able to establish those relationships that are within your niche and get some free advertising. The important thing with this is you really need to treasure these relationships and build them. So what we always do is we send them thank you notes and gifts because we appreciate what they're doing, and we really make an effort to get to know these people and treat them like they're part of the family. Another way to market is also to get featured within your industry. So Orange Fish has been nominated by Toronto Now magazine as Best Online Retailer in Toronto, and we've also been featured in Retail 4G, which is a guide that's put out by the government to talk about the retail industry in Canada. We are featured for being one of the first e-commerce sites in Canada to use embedded video technology to showcase some of our products. So these two pieces of marketing aren't direct to your consumer, but it does raise awareness within your industry. And again, they're free and non-paid for. And of course, we, like everybody else, use social media. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And, you know, over the years, have really figured out that it's important just to focus on the channels where our customers actually are. So Facebook and Instagram are the top two that we put the most time and effort into. And for those channels, we post regularly, and at specific times throughout the year, we run social media campaigns with paid advertisements. And it's also important that if you're choosing to run on one or more of these social media platforms, that you cater your content to that platform. So, for example, if we're going to post something on Facebook, it looks different than what we choose to post on LinkedIn, because those two audiences are very different and they have very different expectations. The other method of marketing online is that you can also choose to work with bloggers or influencers. And we've done some work with bloggers, with some Canadian bloggers, because that's where our focus has been, is in Canada, and it's been okay. We choose to work with bloggers depending on the rate, their writing style, and size of their target market. And we haven't currently worked with an influencer to date. I don't see anything wrong with doing it. We just haven't found the right fit for our brand. And to be honest, the number one online marketing tool that you can have is still your email list. So it's super relevant, super important to work hard and continue to grow that list. And then people have asked, so why are you deciding to go internationally now? And, you know, we have been, since we launched in 2006, we've been solely focused on the Canadian market, and we've decided it's time to put some time and effort and resources into expanding internationally. We do have some customers in the U.S. and some from Europe, but have never actively marketed to those regions, and the timing is good, and there's basically four main reasons. So one is the Canadian market. We've truly figured out how small the Canadian market is, especially in comparison to the U.S. The buying behaviors are very different, and we want to start to explore other regions. And then also internally, our processes. We have streamlined all of our processes so we can ensure success. We're super, super small, but now we'll have the bandwidth to be able to take on more. And number three, it's also important for us to expand in order to continue to grow. You know, if we want our revenue to grow and our company size to grow, we need to expand beyond the Canadian market. And in 2018, there are so many strong partners that we can work with that can help us through this process. So instead of trying to do it all on our own and making costly mistakes, we can find great partners that can help us in that area. And the last thing is that, you know, globally, selling made in Canada is starting to be a really hot trend. So people are starting to recognize that if they get a made in Canada product, it's great quality, and we want to be able to attract those customers. And if there's any advice I can give to people that are going to go down this path, I would say that if you're going to start a business or you're looking to export, it'd be really know what your strengths are so you can identify your gaps, and then outsource or hire for those other pieces. So for example, if you're not good with numbers, hire someone who can manage this piece. In retail, it's super important to know your numbers to make sure you're profitable. If you're not good at logistics, hire someone who's detail-oriented, and that will reduce the number of potential errors that will save you money in the long run. And if you're not good at building relationships, hire or partner with someone. You know, a salesperson or a connector can honestly take your business to the next level. And if you know nothing about social media, hire someone or take out a partner. This can be a beast and can be time-consuming. And do not hire a friend, hire a professional. Check their references, check their performance. There are a lot of people in the market that say they can do it, and they might be good at it for a specific industry, but will they be the best for your business? And finding great partners to work with is going to save you a ton of time in the long run, and you'll get ahead much faster. I think one of the biggest roadblocks that I experienced to growing Orange Fish is we really tried to do everything ourselves. But if you can find those great partners and a great connection, then it can really expand you and move you forward. So that's all I have to share today. Hopefully some people will have some questions.
That was really wonderful. Thank you very much, Janet. It's always interesting to hear somebody else's story, how they get started and how they're doing it, because I think it inspires us. Now we're going to have a really interesting presentation, because one of the biggest challenges at the end of the day is understanding how do we ship our product. So this is really key. So our two presenters now, Imtiaz and Stevens, give us some advice and guidance here so that we can really understand, shipping seems to be quite a big challenge. Educate us on how we can improve that.
For sure. Thank you so much for having us on board today. Janet, you touched on some fantastic points today. Thank you for that. So consider worldwide shipping sooner than you think. It can actually be cheaper to ship outside of Canada than shipping within. Janet touched on a really good point earlier where she talked about, e-commerce businesses are all going online. Customers love to buy from Canada. So always look into what your options are to sell abroad, and always use partners that have the core competency.
So ideally, you want to utilize an online platform for technology and various services. So as Janet said, Shopify is very good, and then your shipping can go hand in hand with your shopping cart and your website and everything. So eShipper, we have a Shopify app, automates everything, shows rates to your customers. Whatever you want to do, you have the possibilities. And then dimensional weight is dimensions plays a role in shipping as much as the actual weight. So try and get packaging that fits your product nice and snug, so that way you're not paying more than what you should be. And then also set expectations with your customers for when it comes to like shipping and duties, because a lot of people, they don't know what to expect.
In essence, when you are shipping abroad or you are shipping in general, the commodity of your good is really, really important. You want to steer away from shipping dangerous goods, medicines, and food until you have the right certification, as countries are quite strict about what can be shipped into their country and require you to follow certain regulations and certification. Tracking is a huge, huge thing for all clients. A lot of customers buying from your website expect tracking as a norm. You have a bunch of different solutions in the marketplace that allow you to have either full tracking or origin-based tracking, where the tracking number may stop once the product gets into the country, and some of these solutions use a hybrid of express plus postal. So it's always key to really look out into the economy, the environment, look for the right partners who can give you a hybrid solution, because a lot of times, and I'm sure Janet, you can attest to this, some of the product sets that are available in the market may be quite low in margin, but you sell a lot of volume, and you don't want to end up spending 30 or 40 bucks on shipping when actually your profitability is only $15 or $20. So it's really important to understand what options you have out there and use the right options.
So we touched on full tracking. So you have the option to do flat rate shipping, free shipping, free shipping over a certain threshold. So I think Janet over at Orange Fish, it's $74 and you get free shipping, right? So things like that, it incentivizes people to not only buy more, but also they can get more shipping as well. So it's kind of like a win-win. And then, you want, like MTS said, give options. So there's many express. So I generally like to tell customers, give a standard, maybe a free option, then give a little bit of faster time, and then maybe give, the fastest overnight or express. And that way people, if they need something ASAP, they can get it no problem. So another thing to take into consideration is maybe you're considering goods that qualify for NAFTA or for CETA, or you want to take advantage of that. So now that means that, if you want to sell to the U.S. or sell to certain parts of Europe, now your customers don't have to pay duties or taxes or anything like that. So it's almost like they're ordering domestic. So that's one of the big considerations, and also helps you out as a business too, because you get certain breaks. And then you want to utilize an online platform. So coming to eShipper, we get discounts, right? So we get to pass it on to people like you. We do 4,000 shipments per day, so we get to leverage that volume, get a very good discount, put it online, and make everyone's life a lot easier.
Just to touch on that, so utilizing an online platform for technology and bulk discounts is an incredible service. Janet, you talked a little bit about sourcing the right type of partners and outsourcing at the right times in your business. When you're looking for a partnership that can take you to the next level, you don't want to do it all by yourself. And what eShipper and other platforms out there allow you to do is, if you have 100, 200 orders to fulfill on a daily basis, you want to automate as much of that using technology that's out there. You also want to get the best-in-class type of partnerships through some of the vendors that provide cheaper shipping rates, or they allow you to line haul or create scenarios where you're not shipping products one by one, but you can stack them together and ship them across the border in one go. So there are a bunch of options out there, and using a platform for technology as well as partnerships is really, really important.
And another thing to consider too is that, shipping in the industry, things do get lost, things do get damaged. One thing to note is that pretty much with every carrier, you get $100 of free insurance. So that's something you do want to take advantage of. If your goods fall under that $100 threshold, you're fine. You don't need to insure your products any further. However, if you are shipping something more expensive, so maybe 400, 500, 600, even more of a value, then considering to insure it, you can find low-cost options from other options that's besides the carrier to insure your items, and that way you're covered, and you don't have to worry, wow, I'm out this $300 product, and I don't know what to do now because no one wants to give me the money for it.
So finally, there's the point number 2 and number 8. They kind of go very hand in hand, which is packaging your goods correctly is really, really important in order for your customer to actually see the product in the best way possible. But more importantly, the dimensional weight of your packaging is a big factor when it comes to your shipping cost. Now again, there are certain carriers that only work on dimensional weight, like your UPSs and DHLs, but then there are other carriers that only work on specific weight, so actual weight of the product, and they really don't care how big the actual packaging is. So you've got to find the right type of partners and obviously the right type of courier companies or mail companies for your specific product. If we can move to the last slide. So some of the services that eShipper offers to e-commerce businesses. First and foremost, eShipper is a company that works predominantly with startup, small and medium-sized businesses. And we really understand the value of consultancy at the first stages of a business. The stage where a business is starting to transform from idea to product and from a domestic product to an international product. So the first service we provide is a free consultancy on really understanding what your options are and what is available in the marketplace. We offer a service called Smart Post. It's an exclusive service to eShipper, which is a international and domestic mail service. We can talk a little bit about the DHL e-commerce service specifically, which is a hybrid service. It's a service where DHL actually uses its express planes to fly packages into the country, and then the final mile delivery is done by the postal system. And the reason this type of product is phenomenal for e-commerce businesses is because the cost difference between an express service and an e-commerce service can save you almost 90% of shipping cost, and we'll bear on some of those costs in the later slides. We also provide highly competitive express services. So Stephen mentioned earlier that we do around 4,000 shipments. We move around 1 million packages on a yearly basis, and we have 18,000 customers using our services, which basically allows us to get some really incredible volume discounts, which we then pass on to small, medium-sized businesses. So utilizing a service like eShipper allows you to get phenomenal discounts, even though your volume may not be as high as a bigger customer.
Now, what's next? Automation. So, if you start stepping up into higher volume orders, so let's say you get 25, 30, 40, 50, even more orders per day, Now, to sit there and fulfill each individual order can be very cumbersome and time-consuming, and you know what? It may not be something that's in your best interest. So you can spend that time doing marketing, sales, whatever else there is. So you can get an automation from another app that you can plug into stores like Shopify or WooCommerce, wherever you decide to host your website. And, you know, oftentimes within the few clicks of a button, you have your order shipped, you print your label, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and just to touch on a few points that Shannon had made earlier, which was that, you know, using a platform like Shopify is fantastic because even though you may not be an expert in creating websites, the simplicity of being online and just getting online without having too many merchants is what small, medium-sized businesses do, and eShipper has a specific plugin for Shopify allowing you to provide customer rates as well as automation on label generation. Last, we have a slide on some of the cost savings. So I think this was important around shipping international, especially. As you can see on the right-hand most side column, your savings start at 70+% on your domestic side, but we can also save you a bunch of money shipping international, whether that's coming into Canada or going out of Canada. And the idea is that this is done through a multitude of different carriers, so it's not a one-size-fits-all. In here you have UPS, DHL, you also have FedEx and so on, and the idea is that for some packages that are heavier or multi-piece, some carriers are much better than others, and the other way around. Finally, we'll talk a little bit about our smart post rates. So as you can see, there's a bunch of savings to be had shipping to the US, shipping to the UK. The idea is that this is our hybrid mail service, and it comes with full tracking, gives you an ability to really give your client an understanding of exactly where these products are, and we can definitely lay into more of this as the questions come in later. Thank you so much.
This was really interesting. Thank you very much for sharing this really useful information, because I think as small business owners, this is one of our biggest challenges, and I really think it's really interesting, and some of those savings are really quite amazing. So next we've got Nora, and she's going to speak to us about a little bit of our business. So Nora, tell us your story. Please make sure that it's concise and to the point, because we're nearly coming to the end of the webinar. But tell us about your story and inspire us so we can also start selling our stuff online.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's really great to be here, and hopefully I can provide some insight and inform you guys a little bit about the company and what we do here. So as you mentioned, my name is Nora Case. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Norca Co. My husband is the other co-founder, and if there is time for a question and answer session, he will definitely join us. So Norca Co is it's an online modest fashion and scarf brand. It caters to a worldwide audience, so we do ship worldwide. We've been in business for a little over a year, and I decided to sort of start this business when my Instagram following reached about 300,000 followers. I do blogging on the side, and so when that happened, I sort of was able to get an insight into the market and was able to sort of see what kind of needs there were, what kind of holes there were in the market that needed to be filled, and so that's sort of where I came in. And there was definitely a need for high-quality products, especially scarves, and being in the modest fashion industry, it's relatively new, especially online, and so I found an opportunity there, and luckily I had the following to sort of back that up. So when we first started, we kind of had like 20 products, not many SKUs, but then now we have over 100 products that we sell. And when I first started, obviously you're starting off as a small business. You're still relatively small. You just want to test out the market, sort of. And so we were quite small. And I remember, when it comes to shipping, I remember sort of being in my condo, really small condo, and I had like stacks of just like, firstly these huge boxes of products, and then I had this rack with labels and our various SKUs on the racks. And I remember being pregnant and steaming each and every product and rolling it and attaching labels to it and putting it back into the packaging and making it look all pretty. And then I would create the labels for the orders that I would get, and then I would literally go downstairs, walk to Shoppers, head to Canada Post to drop off my packages. And at the time, I wasn't really aware of the different shipping options I had. I didn't know you could get somebody to pick it up for you. So, I lugged my belly around and I just went downstairs to kind of drop those packages off. And, it was quite challenging. Despite the physical challenges that I faced doing that all on my own, it does take time to create those labels, to prepare those shipments. So it was taking about 50 to 70% of my time just, to create those shipping labels, to fulfill those orders. And so, instead of spending that time on growth and on marketing, I was spending most of the time doing that. And, when Janet speaks about hiring people who are professionals, or having strategic partners who would be able to help you, that's sort of where, my relationship with eShipper started, is because I was struggling and I thought I could do it all on my own, but clearly that was hindering my ability to sort of grow and expand. And so, after doing some research, obviously I wanted to be more efficient. I wanted this process to sort of be handled by somebody else who's more professional, and I didn't know my options at the time. So I took to the internet and I sort of did my research, and I tried to see what options there were. And I was really surprised, to be honest, when I first found out that there was a company that would not only house my products in a safe and secure and organized manner, which warehouses do, but at the same time, not only warehousing, but also fulfilling and shipping and creating those labels and just handling that headache, which is shipping, just handling it themselves. And because they are professionals, they're able to do that. And so luckily, Imtiaz and his team, scheduled a meeting right away. We gave them a call, and, we were in their office literally right away. And so we sort of sat down and addressed all of our shipping needs, and we discussed everything that we needed to do in order to find those solutions for to reduce the time I was spending on shipping, actually to just take it on completely, and so that I was able to sort of focus on growth and just be the CEO that I wanted to be. There are three main solutions sort of that were discussed and implemented to help our business. Number one is, eShipper was able to hold our inventory, which was huge because, my house was small. Luckily, we moved out, but it was small, and right now we have so many SKUs. It would have been impossible to sort of house that on my own. And so, they're taking care of the warehousing. And then the second thing is they were able to sort of integrate their service into our Shopify platform, which Imtiaz touched on earlier. And so that was key because I was using Shopify, and it is such a custom sort of website. They have their, what I mean is you're not able to customize it. They have sort of their own platform. And so it's really important to be able to sort of integrate that part of shipping, which is so important, into the platform, which is hard-coded, but they provide their own integration there. And so that was key for us. And then the last thing is, eShipper was able to sort of handle that packaging and shipping process. So, I was saving on a lot when it came to shipping, and so therefore my customers were able to save because I was able to offer more competitive shipping rates to them. And so as a result, I was able to spend more time, obviously, focusing on marketing and focusing on growth, versus sitting down and doing all the packaging myself, which as a result, obviously, led to an increase in revenue. And so that was really, really important for us. And then, the second thing that, I benefited from was that, I felt confident in the total shipping process from start to end. From the moment that from the moment an order is placed, that cha-ching you hear on Shopify, to the moment a customer sends me their feedback saying how happy they are with the shipping, how quickly they received it, the packaging was perfect, and how happy they are with the entire process. And so what that leads is to a retention, and they come back and want to order again. And so, just the entire process was is just taken care of. And so that's super, super important to me, especially when my customers are happy, I'm happy. And so, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you for listening.
Wonderful story and really inspiring. Just simple product, and You know, those are the type of stories we want to hear, is where somebody comes up with this great idea, starts selling your stuff internationally, and that's exactly. All right, so now we have Devin. Devin, tell us a little bit about the Magnet Export Business Portal, because again, this is exactly what it does. The objective here is to connect you with the right resources. So Devin, take it away.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you to all the other speakers. So I'm going to keep this really short because I do want to have a few minutes at least for questions because we have such a panel of expertise. So the Magnet Export Business Portal was really developed to respond to a lot of the challenges that we knew were faced by small and medium-sized businesses, especially in in trying to access trade opportunities, whether it was funding opportunities, whether it was looking for inbound, outbound trade missions to connect with other businesses, or just resources and information and services. There's a lot of different providers, and we're connected with four of the big ones: the Ontario government, Global Affairs Canada, BDC, and EDC, and we work with them to really make sure that we are developing a pipeline for businesses to be able to connect to those resources. So I loved Peter's presentation, and he went through all of the credentials and the different information that you need to look at when you're thinking about whether you're eligible for certain programming when it comes to funding, and that's really what we do on the back end for the portal itself. So we, through just collecting a small amount of information from businesses, we're able to push communications to businesses about the type of programs that they're eligible for. So to Peter's presentation, there's a lot of eligibility criteria, and so for a business, when you create a profile, we ask you the right amount of information so that we can push the types of funding programs that are offered at the OCC, different services and programs that are offered through the Ontario government, the federal government, BDC, EDC, and any of our industry associations that we partner with. We make sure that you're getting targeted with communications about services and opportunities that are relevant to your business and that you're eligible for, so that you don't have to worry about getting notifications about opportunities that you find out halfway through the application that you're not eligible for. So it's a very simple sign-up process. As I said, you go to export.magnet.today, so a really easy URL to remember. You click I am a new user, and then it takes you through the onboarding process. So we ask for your organization name, the key contact person, and email address. You hit submit or sign up. You'll get an email confirmation to your inbox, and you hit the onboarding queue, and it will take you into the questions. We ask about your industry, your market served, the number of employees, and your founding year. We then ask you questions that are more specific to exporting. So if you're not currently exporting, that doesn't mean that there isn't any resources on this site for you. It's quite the contrary. We ask businesses, if you're not exporting, signing up for the portal is the way to start tapping into the types of resources to help you get to the next step of being able to export. So it's just a number, 3 other questions about your total sales revenue, markets of interest, and areas of interest. If you are currently exporting, we ask you a bit more information so that we can understand where you are in your kind of exporting journey, if you're just starting out or if you're relatively an experienced exporter. And again, we're collecting this information so that we can target opportunities to you based on your eligibility for those opportunities. For businesses who are wondering, this is a lot of information you're asking me to put into a platform. Everything is private and confidential. We own the data, so even though we're partnered with the Ontario government and the federal government and EDC and BDC, that information is never shared. It's always private and confidential within our system. Once you hit submit, you're instantly targeted with communications of, like I said, funding programs, trade missions, inbound, outbound, networking opportunities, resources, market access information that's all relevant to your industry and your opportunities that you're looking for internationally. So I'm going to stop there. I know we're right at 3 o'clock. If you have any questions about the portal, please reach out to myself. And like I said, you can sign up for free for your free account at export.magnet.today.
Thank you very much, Devin, and I encourage all of you, go online. It's really simple. It's really easy to do. And most importantly, you will only get targeted emails. So it's emails that are targeted for the information you looked at. The first question we got here is for Noor. Noor, how did you come up with this idea?
So like I said before, I almost 300,000 followers. And so I was able to sort of talk to my followers, get to know them a little bit, figure out, because my followers followed me because they liked what I do or they could connect with me in a way. And so there was a niche there. And so I figured out that there was a demand for high quality. Firstly, we sell scarves at this moment, and we're planning on selling clothing in the future. But Scarves, you could get different kinds of quality when it comes to scarves, and so I think there was a huge demand for quality products, quality scarves that women could purchase because we wear it almost every day, especially women who wear it on their heads as a headscarf. So it's important to have a product that's not going to wear off in after a couple washes, and so we were really keen on creating a product that was high in quality, and so that's sort of how I started and why I chose that product.
Wonderful, really interesting, especially that niche. And you think, these are the opportunities for small business owners, is that the smaller the niche is, the more opportunity there. So Janet, one of the questions you mentioned, a really interesting thing. So what's technology like, for example, Shopify or any of the other platforms that we hear about out there? How has that made your life easier?
Well, part of the challenge is when you have like a customized built site, if you want to try out any new features or functionality, you're kind of blocked from trying it unless you pay to get it custom built for your site. So the great thing with something like Shopify is there are so many plug-in apps that you can add to your website, so you can try out different features and functionality at a super relatively low cost. Yeah, it makes it so easy. Like, you could think of a feature or functionality that you think, oh, I think that would work for my users. But think about paying thousands of dollars to get it made versus paying, $20 a month to try it out. It's a massive difference for your bottom line.
It's a wonderful thing about technology, that it's become affordable for us small business owners. Okay, so we got another question here for Peter. Peter, if somebody in Ontario would like to apply for the program, are there any steps they need to go through? Is there a site they need to go to? Should they go to the Magnet Export Business Portal? Where should they go if they're interested in having a conversation and finding out more about the program you discussed?
Right. So the Magnet portal is definitely a great option, not only to learn more about our program but others. But I would also suggest going to our website. So that's occ.ca/programs, and there you will find information on all the programs that we currently run. Specifically the Global Growth Fund. Once you're in there, it's just a matter of following the links. I'd strongly advise you download and read the program requirements and make sure that you do fit into the program. And if you have any concerns or questions, we are very much an open program, so feel free to give myself or any other of my colleagues a call.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much there, Peter, because I think it's a really great program, and small business owners, if we can get money back from the government, we're always excited. So this is always a great program to look at. Exactly. Thank you very much, Peter. So Imtiaz, I'm going to ask you a question specifically about, let's say, for example, I'm a small business owner. When I design my products and things like that, should I be thinking about the packaging up front? Should I maybe think about design products that fit specifically in packaging? Is that a good strategy?
Great question. I think it's more that it's a consideration to have. When you're thinking about designing a new product, the functionality has to serve the purpose, and clients must want to buy that product. Packaging is extremely important. We have a variety of ways to reduce dimensional weight. The first point on what eShipper proposes or what eShipper provides to small businesses is free consultancy. So you don't always have to package your product in a box. You could use bubble mailer, things like that, where you can reduce the dimensional weight significantly. We also have certain carriers that don't charge on dimensional weight. One of the carriers that Noor uses for all her international shipping is DHL e-commerce, who does not charge you on dimensional weight, but only charges you on actual weight. So there are definitely ways around making sure that you're getting the best price for your packaging. And it's definitely a consideration that you should make, is to speak or consult an outsourced party that is good at this type of product and this type of question. So go on, sorry.
Yeah, there's just one more simple question. Now, let me understand this. So does eShipper automatically integrate? So when the customer gets to ordering, it automatically integrates? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so depending on the shopping cart that you're currently using, so let's say, for example, you are using a Shopify type of shopping cart, yes, we can completely integrate into your Shopify store, where you are able to provide your customers shipping rates at checkout. So they're able to see how much it will cost for shipping to be shipped to their specific location, as well as allowing you to automatically generate labels so you don't have to input any data manually.
Wonderful. All right, so I've got one more question here for Devin from somebody online. Devin, so where will we have access to this recording? Let's say, for example, I'm a small business owner. I want some of my staff to watch us. Where will we get access to the recording after the event?
Yeah, so everyone who's registered for the webinar itself will receive the webinar recording via email, and so it'll be just a link to take you back to our YouTube channel where you can watch this webinar recording, and then you can watch our other webinars that we posted as well. So we've had more of a general webinar before this, talking more simply about going global, and if there are any women-owned businesses on today's call, then you can also access our women-focused webinar on global opportunities for women-owned businesses. Outside of that, it will also be available at our landing page, which is export.magnet.today, which will have it on our blog post.
That's wonderful. Okay, so a couple of final words. I want to end off the webinar, but thank you very much. I encourage all of you, every single one of you, go to the Magnet Export Business Portal. That's your starting point. You educate, you find the links, and from there you can start thinking about exporting. So I'm going to go through, Peter, a couple of final words you'd like to say to everybody online.
I would just strongly encourage everyone to apply. As I previously mentioned, it's a very high success rate. So if you put in the effort, the return on investment is quite high. So
thank you very much. So really useful information. So apply if your criteria works with you. Apply and see if you can get some money out of the program. Noor, a couple of final words from you, Noor.
Yeah, I would say just understand your niche. It's really important to connect with your customers, and definitely don't try to do everything yourself.
I think that's great advice. Your story is very inspiring. I think it's a great example of a simple business, simple product, using social media and really growing. I was really impressed with the amount of Instagram followers. One day when I grow up, I also want to have as many Instagram followers as you. And then we've got Janet, a couple of final words to inspire us, Janet.
I think you guys hit the nail on the head. I do think it's really important to know your niche. Start out with fewer SKUs, like less number of products, and know your audience and target them. Work with strong partners.
I think wonderful advice once again, simple advice, but really important. Know your strengths and work with the right partners. So let's just get Devin. Devin, a couple of final words for us on the Magnet Business Portal, and then we can end off the webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just to everyone else's point, it's really important to know your market strength. And I think sometimes we don't know what we don't know. So if you sign up for the Magnet Export Business Portal, then you start that pipeline of information.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody online. I really appreciate it. Thanks for spending this time with us. I think we've learned a bunch of things. There's programs out there to support you to export. You can find out all about those on the Magnet Export Business Portal. You can use the service like eShipper. The business owners, there are business owners just like you and me out there doing this. It's a great opportunity to grow your business. Use this information, build a successful business, and more importantly, sign up for our upcoming webinars. We will educate you some more on how to export your products. Thank you all my presenters this afternoon. Thank you for attending the webinar, and have a great afternoon. Thank you very much.